Senator Josh Hawley wrote a letter to Mayorkas and told him that he should resign. He said, you should resign. It's a disgrace. In fact, I'm a little disappointed in Congress that they have not held impeachment hearings for Mayorkas. I know that the Senate would most likely not convict Mayorkas, would not actually do their part, but the House should. The House absolutely should, because Mayorkas is one of the most dangerous men in our country. There have been over 150 known or suspected terrorists that have crossed the southern border. This is just the people that the Biden administration knows about in the last 6 months alone. So we have the physical harm to the people who live near the border. We have the drugs that are being trafficked, the humans that are being trafficked and sexually abused. We have our nation state under assault. We have the amount of money that it's going to cost the taxpayers, putting this drag on our welfare system, which in turn the left uses as justification to raise taxes and to redistribute wealth, which it's damaging to our economy. And then you have terrorists who actually want mass destruction in the United States being led across our border. Of course, Mayorkas should resign. And of course, the House of Representatives should impeach him. This shouldn't even be a question. This is like the most obvious statement in the world. The most obvious statement in the world. A new Rasmussen poll came out asking, this is so interesting because we talked earlier in the week about the boycott of Bud Light, or the boycott, not just of Budweiser, but of the parent company Anheuser-Busch, and how this is not just a boycott that's limited to our political bubble, if you will, that this has spilled out into the general public. And what I mean by that is sometimes there are controversies that you and I, we're political nerds, right? We're obsessed with headlines. We know all of this stuff. We get into Twitter squabbles, all the good stuff. But most people in our country don't hear about the stuff that we hear about. Most people in our country only hear about political stories when they become so big that they spill out into the general consciousness. And Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, Bud Light, I think, assumed that when conservatives began to boycott Bud Light after they hired that transgender activist Dylan Mulvaney to be the face of Bud Light, I think they assumed that our righteous indignation was limited just to our political bubble, right? They said, oh, you know what, just wait, these conservatives, they'll start this, it'll be a couple days, but it'll readjust, we'll reorient, right? Our equilibrium will be reestablished, just wait it out. And I think that they underestimated the fact that, no, we're really serious about this. This crosses a line for us. We're not quick to boycott. Conservatives are not quick to boycott. But when we do, we really mean it. And then we talked about, so after we began to boycott, then you have places like the Republican congressional fundraisers, essentially, who took down their webpage. That was fundraising based on Anheuser-Busch hiring, Bud Light hiring Dylan Mulvaney. And you had even people, not just establishment Republicans, you even had people like Don Jr., who, I love Don Jr. I have a ton of respect for what he does. I think he's a valuable voice in the conservative movement. I'm not sure why he's taking this position, but saying, listen, Anheuser-Busch donated to Republicans, therefore, we should not try to damage them because they're giving their money to Republicans. Like, don't hack them because some isolated marketing executive made this decision. And we talked earlier in the week about how that's not the correct take, that Anheuser-Busch doesn't just donate to Republicans. They donate to both Republicans and Democrats. Republicans a little bit more. 60% of their political donations are Republican, 40% are Democrats. That just means they're playing the game. It doesn't mean that they're a Republican company. It means that their consumers might be more Republican than Democrat. That's why a lot of their marketing in the past has been kind of red-blooded, red, white, and blue, American patriotic spirit, middle of the country, working man, a lot of farmland, kind of like traditional country music type advertising. But Anheuser-Busch underestimated the fact that you and I are sick and tired of the Republican establishment. We're sick and tired of a Republican establishment that's willing to sell our principles, sell our children's bodies to queer theory just for a couple of dollars to go to campaigns. Like, no, absolutely not. We are done. And so we've continued to boycott. So Rasmussen conducted a poll. This poll was conducted from April 12th to 16th. This is what they said. This is the question of the poll. Anheuser-Busch has used transgender model Dylan Mulvaney to promote its Bud Light brand of beer. Does this make you more or less likely to purchase Bud Light beer? These are the results. Let me read these to you. In all age categories, 40% of people said it would make them less likely to purchase Bud Light. 37% said it makes no difference, and only 19% said it makes them more likely. So 40% of people said it makes them less likely to buy beer. That's all age categories. But then broken down into age brackets, this is fascinating actually, because you would expect, okay, young people aren't going to care about this. Young people are very leftist. They're gonna swing much more towards Dylan Mulvaney than towards reality. But it's barely different. In the 18 to 39-year-old category, so this is Gen Z and millennials, 26% of people said it makes them less likely to purchase Bud Light, 35% said it makes no difference, and 33% said it makes them more likely. So what is that? Only 7% more, even of young people, only 7% are more likely to buy Bud Light versus less likely. That, if I'm Anheuser-Busch, that is an astonishing statistic for me. Because when you look at typical polling data, like which age person or which age demographics support candidates, almost always this 18 to 39-year-old demographic, it skews so far to the left that it's absurd, right? Like if you look at Joe Biden versus Donald Trump, or Hillary Clinton versus Donald Trump, or anybody, Barack Obama versus Mitt Romney, or John McCain versus Barack Obama, you can go all the way back. The young demographic skews so far to the left that it's embarrassing for Republicans. Let's just say that. So for the 18 to 39-year-old category and the hot button cultural topic to be, I don't want to call it within the margin of error because 7% is a little bit greater than a margin of error, but to be so close. If I'm Anheuser-Busch, then I sit back in my chair and I say, oh man, or woman, we really miscalculated. This is a major boo-boo here. This is not something that's going to be quickly solved. For the 40 to 64-year-old category, 53% said it makes them less likely to purchase. Only 12% said it makes them more likely. Of the over 65 years old, 42% said it makes them less likely to buy the beer, and only 6% said it makes them more likely. This is something. This is quite something. This means our boycott's going to be effective. Now, I said earlier in the week, it doesn't mean that Bud Light, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch is going to apologize or roll this back. They're probably not going to because they're in the international spotlight now. But it does mean that we are sending a message to other corporations that the phrase that we like to say, go woke, go broke, isn't just a phrase anymore. It's a reality. That if you do something so stupid, like hiring a transgender activist, a man pretending to be a woman to be the face of your company, then you can stand to lose $6 billion off your stock value. We conservatives, we mean it this time. We have drawn a line in the sand. We understand that this fight against critical race theory, this fight against queer theory, the organizations that propagate it, right? Whether it's the Black Lives Matter movement and Joe Biden's administration propagating the critical race theory lies, the Black Lives Matter lies, whether it's Drag Queen Story Hour or Disney, or now Anheuser-Busch propagating the queer theory narrative, the transgender ideology, we conservatives understand what we're facing. Hi guys, it's Liz Wheeler. Don't forget to watch my show, The Liz Wheeler Show, every night at 7 p.m. on the First TV. You can download the free First TV app, or you can visit thefirsttv.com/Liz and start watching today.